Hey everybody, welcome back to the couch. I am Jeanette. This is Thunder. We are Reacting Realms. And today I'm going to be reviewing a book that I just finished. I actually saw a reaction video to the movie, The Maze Runner, and decided to pick up the book because it was such a good reaction. Go check out Bridge Go. They're actually really funny. I love Bridget and Cody. So I'm hoping to keep this as spoiler-free as possible. There might be some light spoilers, but I'm not going to give away any of the big reveals or anything like that. So let's jump into it. So let's set the scene. You start off with Thomas, and he's in this steel box, and it is dark. The metal is rattling. He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know where he came from. He knows nothing. And then the box opens and he's in this huge courtyard surrounded by these giant walls and a whole community of other teenage boys. And they're looking at him like, hey, welcome to the nightmare. And that place is called the Glade. And beyond the walls, there is this gigantic shifting maze filled with these monstrous creatures, which are like a cross between a slug and a porcupine / Terminator. And they're called Grievers. And they are trying to kill ya. No pressure, right? So the story follows Thomas. He's the protagonist, as I said. So he arrives in the Glade and he doesn't know what's going on. He's desperate for answers. And so are we, the reader, because we are seeing everything from Thomas's point of view. We don't know what's going on. We've been given no background about what's happening. We're just in this glade with a bunch of teenage boys. So quick summary, you've got Thomas, and he decides he's going to join the Gladers and try to figure out the rules of this new dystopian world. You've got then this girl called Teresa shows up, and she's unconscious. And she brings this cryptic message that is gonna change everything. The maze starts to become more dangerous. Secrets start coming out, and the Gladers realize that they gotta solve this maze. Because if they don't, then that's their only hope. They're gonna be stuck there. The tension is high. The author keeps you constantly questioning what's real, who can you trust? The pace is moving really quickly. So let's talk about things that I genuinely loved about the book. Like I said, the pace. This book moves fast. The chapters are really short. They end mostly on cliffhangers, and you're practically forced to keep reading. If you've been in a reading slump, this is a great book for you because you finish one chapter and you tell yourself, I just gotta read one more chapter. Suddenly you're up at 2 a.m. and you realize you gotta go to bed because you gotta go to work the next morning. That was me. I also really like the atmosphere of mystery. So the mystery in this book is compelling. From page one, you're kind of flooded with the questions. Who built the maze? Why are the kids trapped there? And why are they using kids in the first place? And why don't they remember anything? The author does a really good job of feeding you clues while also keeping some of the bigger secrets hidden. I mean, it's not super complicated. You can probably figure it out, but it's enough to keep you interested. The stakes also feel pretty high in the moment. There's real moments of danger. You honestly don't know, even though it's a YA book, like is this character going to die? Are they not going to die? Obviously, Thomas isn't going to die because he's the main character, but everybody else is at risk. And the Grievers themselves are actually genuinely creepy and kind of disgusting, actually. The maze itself kind of feels alive because it's constantly moving at night and it's trying to trap people who are, and they're trying to escape. So there's also kind of a cinematic quality to everything. You can kind of like hear the footsteps echoing. It's very descriptive, and so that's kind of what keeps you like interested. It's like a movie. I also really like that there's a satisfying resolution. So while it's definitely set up for sequels, The first book doesn't leave you completely stranded. There's a solid resolution to the maze mystery, which I really appreciate. It's a good series opener and really wanted me. I did want to read the second one, and I am reading the second one. I'll do a review of that one as well. So, as much as I enjoyed The Maze Runner, it's not a perfect book. So, let's talk about some of the things that didn't quite work for me. So, let's start off with dialogue. Some of the dialogue is a little bit stiff or a little bit dramatic. There's this like invented slang that the boys use, like they use shuck instead of swear words and clunk and stuff like that. And obviously they're teenage boys. It's meant to kind of create the uniqueness of the world. And sometimes it does work, but other times it kind of pulled me out of the story uh, just a little bit. The characters themselves are pretty memorable. It's not super deep. Thomas is obviously brave and curious, and he's very much your classic YA protagonist. You've got Teresa, who's the only girl in the whole thing, and she's unconscious for half the book, so she's pretty much a mystery. She doesn't really say anything. She doesn't have much personality. And the side characters are really what brings it personality and heart. You've got Newt, who's like the soft leader guy, and apparently has a British accent, but I didn't read it like that. In fact, when I was doing research for my video, that's when people were saying he's the British one, and I was like, what? But he's British, or has a Britishish accent anyway. I don't know if it doesn't really say that. I think it just says he's got an accent. Minho is the leader of the runners, and he's kind of witty and smart and funny. Chuck is kind of younger. He's like the younger, lovable character. He plays pranks and kind of like leads Thomas through for a little bit. But if you're looking for rich, layered characters with complicated inner lives, this is definitely not the story for you. The last thing we're going to talk about is kind of the repetitive internal thoughts of Thomas. He spends a lot of time wondering, who am I? Why am I here? What's going on? Which it does make sense because it's a YA novel, but sometimes it can feel repetitive. And especially if you're older, you may not relate to some of that stuff quite as much. But again, YA novel, so you kind of expect it. Should you read it? I guess is the question. If you're looking for fast-paced, page-turning read, a strong sci-fi mystery, high-stakes action, and a book that you can binge in a couple of days, definitely. I read it in probably like 3 days. It was really fast-paced. If you aren't really into cheesy dialogue or surface level characters bother you, this probably isn't going to be the book for you. It's fun, quick, easy to read. All right, so my final thoughts. Overall, The Maze Runner is a fun, thrilling read. It's not the deepest story I've ever read, but it's entertaining and absolutely kept me turning the pages. Sometimes you do want a book that's just pure escapism. It's got a good puzzle, it's got a sense of adventure, and for me, it really delivered. And it had a very satisfying ending. So I'm giving it a solid recommendation, especially if you're in the mood for something fast, mysterious, a little dangerous, and not too complicated. All right, that about wraps it up. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you read The Maze Runner? Did you love it? Or did it leave you kind of feeling trapped in a maze of your own? Let's chat in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, don't forget to like and subscribe. And look out for the next review for the Scorch Trials. I'm still reading the book, but I will do a review of that when I'm done. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Happy reading.